Good morning everybody. It is Monday the 28th of March. We are, well, here in the UK, we're well into spring. It is glorious and sunny outside today. I've really been enjoying the sun and listening to the birds singing in the trees and proclaiming that all will be well with the world, and I have chosen on this day to believe them. If you hear any banging and crashing, it is my two kittens who are currently outside of the door because they've decided that they are full of the giddiness of spring. Therefore inappropriate to join us at Middle Earth readings today. So we're leaping about like fools. So we're going to be going through our planetary movements for the week ahead, and anybody who's joining me live, and I can see a few people already, hello, joining me. So please do share in the chat what rune you have as your rune of the week, and we'll look at how can you do a bit of co-creation with your rune, working in partnership. Now our theme of this week is trust, because we are moving into the half month. Well, I say we're moving. Today is the first day of the half month of Ehwaz. Here's our lovely Ehwaz rune, which is the rune of the horse and the rider. Sometimes it's seen as two horses working together, and it's about profound partnership. And what's coming through to me very strongly at the moment is this idea of partnership being the coming together of difference to create something more powerful that can be created alone. So you think about the horse and the rider. We have a weak, predatory animal, namely us, partnering with, being carried by, working with an incredibly strong prey animal, namely the horse, and they are using each other's skills, in order to move forward together. I'm not a horse rider. It's just not one of those things that's come up for me in my life. But Ehwaz is a very it's my lunar rune and my Odin's chariot rune, so it's always been a rune that's really drawn me in. It's very powerful for me, and this idea of the deep trust that is needed. And that we need to work at that trust as well. We have to build it and keep on working at it, as we evolve together. And that true partnership is a moving from leading to following, all of the time. And that's how we co-create. Sometimes we are called to lead, and sometimes we're called to follow. And the most dynamic partnerships allow that to happen. That's not to say that that's not about, having a really strong understanding of each other's strengths. If you think about the horse and the rider, the rider's never going to say, oh, well, I'll carry you, because it's impossible. But that doesn't mean that in the moment, in the sort of the context of what they're looking at, it's, which one of us is it most appropriate to lead in this moment. The horse has got much stronger awareness of what is happening around it, of sensing danger in the moment, and of sort of energetic awareness as well than the rider often has. So the rider will sometimes say, yeah, we're going to push forward into danger or risk, and trust me on this, is what the rider will say. But the rider, a good rider, is also very cognizant of what's happening with the horse, and the horse's instincts about whether it's safe to move forward or not. So there's a context there about saying, and we can think about that in terms of partnerships with anything, with, our spirit guides, our half spirits, our partners, our friends, our colleagues, anybody that we're working in co-creation with. We can ask that question. Excuse me. Who needs to be in the lead at this point in time? Who's supposed to be leading right now? Bear with me one moment. It's a new thing I'm getting, some coughing at the beginning of Middle Earth readers. I haven't coughed all morning. If I need to, I'm going to go and get some water, and I'll come back to you. In fact, I'm going to do that now. Maybe it's just that the cats want to come in, so they know I need to open the door. I can see that people are already posting their runes, so if you haven't already posted your rune, post your rune. I'll be back in 60 seconds. maybe less than 60 seconds. That was just a fool's errand on my part, really, wasn't it, to think that I could suggest to Poppy and Patch that they stayed outside the room during Middle-earth readings. I welcome them and embrace them as my partners for Middle-earth readings. We shall see how this goes. So, we're looking at trust, we're looking at co-creation, moving more and more deeply into co-creation, and we're looking at as well as what are the things that undermine trust. And what I'm really present to is that there is so much uncertainty in the world at the moment, and that can shift people who have even the strongest sense of foundations and centre and purpose. That when we're feeling unsettled, when we're feeling unassured of what's happening around us, that's when we start to withdraw. We move out of partnership, when we just go, oh no, I'm going to rely on myself only, on what I know, and ultimately, we can only know ourselves, and we forget to open ourselves and say, I might need support here, or what is on offer here, in this moment that I can draw on. So Ehwaz is coming to remind us of the power and potency of co-creation and partnership. So we've got Suna's chariot moving into Ehwaz today. So, everything that I've spoken about is relevant to all of us because of that. We've got 2 weeks in Ehwaz with the sun. And then tomorrow, Frigg's chariot, that's the Roman equivalent is Venus, is going to move into Suelo. Here we've got the lovely Suelo rune. So Suelo is the rune of self-confidence, self-belief. And so it partners very beautifully with the Ehwaz rune, because you've got the Suelo rune saying, it is about stepping into leadership. It's one of the, let me see how I can put this right. So we've got at the very end of the second 8, the second family of runes, we have the Algiz rune, which is all about being connected to the divine. So it's almost like a little precursor to the Ehwaz rune that comes a bit later. It's saying, I am connected to the divine, and I trust that connection will, that guidance will come. So here we go, we've got the Algiz rune here. And then immediately after the Algiz rune, we have the Suelo rune, which is the rune of self-confidence. I don't know what that was. The rune of self-confidence, self-assuredness of the sun, that, the navigators, our old, the Vikings and all of our, your Northern European ancestors, really, who were sort of travelling and moving out into the world and travelling across the sea in particular, were reliant on the stars and the sun for navigation. And so the Suelo rune is very much the sun. The Tehwaz rune that come next is the stars, so we continue to get that in. And so Algiz connects us to that sense of, the divine is there and I can connect with it and I can be guided. And then Suelo comes along and says, sometimes you need to lead as well. It's not enough for the sun to point in the direction and say, this is the way to go. You have to then say, and I'm going to follow it. And you sometimes have to recognise that, you can't see the sun, and yet still you need to follow that instinct and that way forward. You couldn't have a captain of a ship just saying, the instruments have gone a bit wrong, everyone, so I'm just not going to do anything. They still have to lead so that everyone feels confident that they're moving forward. So that builds our sense of leadership. Then when we get to Ehwaz, we're drawing that in together and we're saying, okay, so sometimes we lead, sometimes we follow. We use those 2 tools that Algiz and Suelo have given us, and we combine them. And the third 8 is very much about sort of alchemy of combining. After Ehwaz, when we move into, we'll be moving into Manaz, which is the rune of sovereignty. So it's like there's some really interesting repeats that come in the third 8 through this, right up until June, July, when we start the rune circle again. We're going with the alchemy, powerful alchemy of all of these forces together. So we have Frigg's chariot and Suelo's coming tomorrow, and then on the 31st we have Odin's chariot is moving into Ehwaz as well. So Odin's chariot in Ehwaz brings more of an inner journey with the shaman, the shamanic initiator experience. It brings to mind Sleipnir, Odin's horse that travels like speedily and swiftly between the worlds. So there is a sense for me of, through this week, saying to yourself, how can I move into co-creation? How can I see what's being offered to me in this moment? How can I recognize that support might be there? When do I need to lead? When do I need to follow? Is the question to ask yourself. Then Frigg's Chariot in Swallow, because it's Frigg's Chariot, it's often slightly more localized, sort of closer to home. So it's almost saying, yes, there's lots of stuff happening outside in the world, but remember to captain your own ship. And Frigg is offering us that ability to connect with what it is that we need to do. So it's not going out into the unknown for us. She's saying, like, tend to what you can within your own domain, within your own realm. She's Frigg, she's the Queen of Heaven. So she's saying, what can you do right here at home to trust yourself and trust your leadership? Some people, when they say, oh, I'm not a leader, everyone is a leader, even if it's just in terms of how you choose to show up every day. So what can I do to step more fully into leadership, and to trust myself? And then with Odin, when he comes forward into Ewaz on the 31st, there is an opportunity there. There's been quite a lot of opportunity for sort of visioning work, and also working with the shadow over the past few months. And Odin offers that a little bit. That's that sense of, I can use this period of time when Odin is in Ewaz, which is normally about a week, that I can go and I can do some shamanic work, some journeying work. But more than that, he's saying that in the context of Suna's Chariot in Ewaz and Frigg's Chariot in Swallow, he's saying, once you've received your vision, that sense of, this is what's right, this is what I feel, this is what I've been guided to, it's saying trust that and let that vision lead you. I think about that with Mag & Rose, this business that I set up, and I didn't know where it was going to go, how it was going to unfold, and I do with this business in particular. I trust the vision and I let it lead me. That feels a bit better than going, no, I have to make all the decisions, I have to decide, and which brings us back to that concept of co-creation. The choice to follow is just as powerful as the choice to lead. There's a YouTube video, what's it called? The One Lone... I'm going to post it because it's really good. And it talks about it, it sort of says that a leader isn't a leader until they have their first follower. So the lone weirdo, I think that's what it's called. But have a look at it. When you're just doing something on your own and nobody is following you, you look like a lone weirdo, is basically what they're saying. But once you have your first follower, they are the ones who give you your power, because they're the ones who say, actually, what you're doing is resonates with us, and we want to be with you, and we want to do this together. So, I quite like that sort of saying, reminding us that following is just as powerful as leading. So let's have a look at what runes people have got. So, morning Suzanne. Suzanne comes with her little bundle of people's runes who haven't been able to be here in the day. So you've got Thurisaz. So that's quite interesting with the Ewaz rune. Sometimes the Thurisaz rune can partner with the Ewaz rune in a slightly like dark way. It can bring up dream work in particular, those sort of things rising up from the subconscious mind. Apologies, the cat is now wrestling with a piece of paper. And bring that challenge. And the idea of the nightmare often is associated with the Ewaz rune, because we have these, as literally, the nightmare, the night horse, this idea of being ridden by something that's not us and that can be unpleasant. And because the Thurisaz rune comes in, and it also has that capacity for very intense emotion, it can bring out that. So there's a call there to recognise the power of that state of working in shadow. And I know that, Suzanne, that's something that you're very comfortable with, is sort of working with the shadow energy. So it might be for you that's partially about recognising that part of your leadership in the way that I meant it, of embodying something, is that you are able to show people the power of working co-creatively with the shadow side, with the dreams that come through that are difficult, with those parts of ourselves that are wounded. Is that's the sense that comes through to me. But just be wary of that Thurisaz rune a little bit. It might bring up some stuff for you as well. So just tend to your boundaries a little bit, and maybe just call on a bit of support from your own guides as well just through this time. Then Chen, you have Bacano. So, we've literally just moved out of Bacano into Ewa. So we've still got that echo energy of Bacano coming through. So again, that sense of how can you use that new, vibrant, exciting, innovative energy of Bacano, that real sort of sense of budding, growing and spring coming, and combine that with that sense of partnering with others. So it might be about bringing your excitement out into the world so that others can feel it, and they're like, oh, Chen's got something interesting going on there. It's looking for how Bacano and Ewas can come together, new projects, new ideas. Where is the support for you in moving forward with them is what it's looking for. And recognizing that when you ask for support, that's also a gift to another person. There are people out there in the world who have, let's say, a little bit of a martyr complex, and if someone says, oh, will you help me, they will do so, even if they don't really have the capacity to do it. So yes, we want to be a little bit wary of that. But when we're in genuine co-creation, powerful co-creation with other people, we are able to trust them to hold their own boundaries too. And to say, yeah, you know what, I really want to work with you on this, and I'm going to get something out of it as well, because it's going to be amazing, So I think that for me, that's what that is pointing at there, Chen, is that sense that when you've both got that Bacano energy behind you, that enthusiasm, then the world is your oyster and you can achieve great things. So look for partners who are standing in their own power and have that energy and are inspired and enthused and are just there saying, oh yeah, of course I'll help out. We can, the partners that we choose will impact so much on the next steps and the flourishing of our own work. And then Erica, you have Ingus, which again is, it resonates strongly with Bacano and Ingus. They're both very sort of natural stores of energy. So Bacano is this, the outpouring of spring nature. It's also the bringing back in, after the outpouring it's the drawing back into the realm of sort of death and renewal and composting as well on the other side. So, for people who are in the southern hemisphere, they might be looking at that Bacano-y energy a little bit more, the sort of drawing inwards. Ingus is the seed that Bacano nurtures. I often work with the two of them in partnership with each other, seeing Bacano as being the outer protective layer that's sort of holding and supporting the Ingus energy that then comes when it's ready. And every time I see the Ingus rune, I see it in combination with Erica's energy, I see the diamond being formed. But it's almost recognizing, I think now, that instead of it being maybe that sort of diamond coming out of the shadow or the Thuracell's realm, so it's interesting that Suzanne had Thuracell's and you've come together, it's coming out of the Bacano realm of the goddess. So it's almost that the gifts that are yours from the place of light and the place of new growth and the place of new beginnings. And recognizing those treasures as being just as valuable and important is, I think, what you're being invited into here is, a new source of strength and rebirthing through the Bacano rune. Esther, you've got Bacano as well. Well, that's very fortunate that your rune has come up at the same time as we've just been connecting with Erica's. And Chen, so we've got that coming through. So is there anything else that I want to add for you, Esther? I think for me, perhaps with the Bacano rune there is a sense of connecting in more deeply with the energy of the Bacano rune. So literally going out into nature and allowing yourself to be filled with that really strong, birthing, green, deep soil, the sun coming down and filling your body. So it feels like very practically it's that connection with, the rebirthing earth is what I would suggest for you, in addition to what I've said for Chen and maybe a little bit around Erica's as well. Marie, you've got Wunyo, Marie. I love Wunyo. So this for me is that really letting yourself be carried by the joy of the moment, and not being afraid to be as joyful as you want to be as successful as you want to be as powerful as you want to be. It's sort of saying, don't allow any limitations, like those little doubts that come in, the inner critic who comes in and sort of says, oh, well, no, you can't really do as much as that. Woo! You need to be thinking a little bit more. Don't do it yet, you're not ready. Those sorts of things, as well as anybody who, sometimes it's a very protective energy. Often I'm thinking about Suzanne and her Thurisaz rune there, that sometimes the desire to protect often comes about from, that people think you are precious, for example. All of our programming that we get from our parents and our communities and things like that about, what we can and cannot do is normally put in place to protect. Sometimes it's people trying to protect themselves and it comes out as aggression towards us, let's be honest. But mainly it comes from a desire to love, a loving gesture. But once we get that little bit older and we're like, actually, I don't need those old forms of protection. I'm no longer the little shoot from Bacano or the seed from Ingus. I'm in a much more powerful place. What would putting down those potentially limiting beliefs and emotions feel like for you? So it's just ask. Wunyo is a very playful rune, so it's not saying, it's not like Manas where it's like stand in your power. It's a much more playful rune there. It's sort of saying, what if? So ask those questions of yourself that, what if I didn't? What if I didn't have that limit? What if I could? And just feeling into that, maybe do some journaling on that, or some meditating, or some visioning around that. What if I could? What if this wasn't really an obstacle? What if that wasn't true? It's those sorts of, it's playful energy there. Felicity, you've got Perthro and Wunyo, they came out together, and we've just covered Wunyo serendipitously there. And with Perthro, that increases the, almost that, I want to say like will-o'-the-wisp type of energy that Wunyo can be. It's like I'm imagining, literally, when you blow on a dandelion and the little seeds go up into the air and they're sort of floating everywhere, and it's like really going in with that and going, oh, where might this fall? And Perthro is, where might this fall energy. And so it's, really opening to unexpected opportunity. And not being too attached, that comes through very strongly, not being attached to outcomes. So if there are things that you are working on at the moment that you're like, I need this to happen in a particular way, or, I've seen this and I want it to be this way. It's just saying, okay, what would happen if I wasn't attached to the outcome right now? So just looking for anything where you're going, I'm really attached to a particular outcome for this at the moment, and actually saying, no, I'm going to trust that if I let go of a particular outcome, perhaps something better will come instead. Lisa, sorry, I'm having to scroll more difficultly. It's more difficult when I've got a cat climbing up me to scroll. Lisa, you've got Thurisaz as well. So again, I'm going to refer you to what I said to Suzanne, that there is the Thurisaz rune can sometimes signify that others are going to try and push into our space, perhaps make life a little bit difficult and tricky for us, and it can be easy to respond with this, to mirror that energy back, and to have that, sort of like maybe aggressive, or I must power through it this way, or I mustn't be judgment is what I want to say. Poppy, you can't climb on my back. I knew that they were going to be. I knew this was going to be a fun session. Poppy, let go of my back, darling. Let go. There we go. The claws of the cat demonstrating Thurisaz in action. I am reclaiming my boundaries. Let's see how long that lasts. So what Thurisaz is asking you to do is to say, yes, I need to hold my my boundaries here with this, and maybe recognise that they're being pushed in one way or another and I don't like it. But it's saying, how can I hold them in such a way as to maintain integrity and come from a place of love and sort of co-creative possibilities of honouring that Ehwaz energy at the same time. So I'm not feeling the same sense of inner, that sort of Ehwaz, Thurisaz, shadow work as I was feeling with Suzanne. It's more external, like in the moment, in the, I want to say the real world, that's not what I mean. I mean, I suppose I'm in the physical world more than the energetic world, is where you might want to look for that and say, okay, you know, how can I hold this boundary in such a way that I still feel powerful as when I'm doing it, and I'm still like deeply in integrity with myself, is a useful question to ask yourself through the course of this week. Claire, you've got Dargaz. So there's a desire for speed with the Dargaz rune. So you've got Ewaz, which is a rune of speed as well. So it's very much like following that, you know, the horse and the rider speeding along, and then you've got Swirlo saying, go this way, go this way. And with the Dargaz rune, there is a sense of deeply following your instincts and your intuitions and seizing the moment is what comes through. I don't get a sense that there are particular like doubts that you necessarily need to worry about, but perhaps it's more of that sense of going, oh, you know, things are going quite fast here, that makes you just hesitate for a moment. And it's almost saying, you know, don't worry about that, go with this, you know, the path is safe. If you imagine, you know, it's like the horse and the rider suddenly going, oh God, we're going a little bit faster than I had anticipated that we were, is this okay? And it's at that point with the rider of sort of saying, okay, the horse knows the terrain, so I'm going to trust and I'm going to enjoy that sense of speed and motion. So so that's what's being suggested for you. As I'm imagining, you know, those like films that you get when there's the horse going across the beach. It's all like very idyllic and beautiful, and the rider's just going, oh, you know, it's sort of, you know, you are as one with the action. So it's sort of saying, allow yourself to be as one with the action. Don't worry that you're going too fast or making decisions too quickly. Or that, you know, life is just going whoosh, you know, ride it, go with it. Trish, you have got Ingu, so we talked a little bit about that with Erica. What else is coming through? I think maybe some literal magics might be suggested here with, you know, depending on the climate where you are, it is literally about sort of sowing seeds. Now, there are different ways that you can do this, and you can empower your seeds in different ways. So you can take, you know, literally like a packet of seeds, and there might be edible seeds. So you can sort of think about, what is it that I want to bring into fruition in the next sort of 3 to 6 months. Ingus is a rune of patience, but it's also seasonal, so it doesn't tend to be like, you know, in 100 years' time. It's sort of, you know, within the course of this seasonal cycle. What are the seeds that I want to plant, and what do I want to reap? And then if it's the right time for sowing, you can sow your seeds, you charge them up, you know, with your visualization of what you want to manifest, and then you can sow them. I often like to do a combination of 3 things. So I like to sow some of the seeds and tend them and water them. I like to give some to nature and let them be wild, recognizing that some of them may not germinate, but that's almost like a gift to the earth. And I also like to, depending on the seed obviously, but if they're edible you can eat some. You know, so there are different ways in which you can use your seed magics, and then the Ingu's rune is really powerful for doing that. So when you're charging your seeds, you can make the shape of the Ingu's rune in its diamond form over your seeds, charge it up with your visualization, and then wait for your magics to manifest. So some practical magic for you there. Diane, you've got Alga's reverse, feeling very down this week as it is. So this worried me. Okay, so the Alga's rune reversed can sometimes suggest a separation from guidance, you know, because it's upright and we're calling, you know, in the energies of spirit to support us and be there. But it can also represent a call from like different forces, for the forces of, you know, the deep earth, the forces of the wisdom of the ancestors, and a deep communion with them. It might be, and again, you know, if you want to message me separately, you can, because you know, I know that it's a tricky time for you, and you're looking at that and you're thinking, oh, you know, what's going on here? But I feel as if there is a sense of in this moment, perhaps that sense that I've been feeling very down is recognizing that perhaps at this point you are in a liminal space, and it's saying, what does my soul need from this liminal space? And it might well be that it feels like you're sitting, you know, in the darkness within that, because you're not in the place of light and reaching upwards. And it's saying, what does my soul need here in this present moment? Because the Algos rune I've found, when reversed, very rarely means, like disconnection from spirit, and is much more, for me, represents that connection with the older and ancient energies and the root energies of the world tree in particular, and going down into the roots. So it's sort of maybe recognising, yes, I am in a place that is liminal and perhaps challenging and difficult at this point. Where is my guidance within that? Where are my teachers within that, in this place of, this liminal place, like between the worlds? But do message me if you need to, Diane, about that separately. Jojo, hi! So you've got Uruz, lovely Uruz. So I've been working with the Uruz rune at the moment, so I'm really enjoying it. With this one, it's interesting because I've very much been thinking about Uruz in that sense of partnership, because Uruz can often feel like quite a straightforward, it's this energy of the aurochs, sort of wilderness, the strength, the partnership with nature, recognizing your own wild self in many ways, and healing can come in as well, and all of these things. What I've realized is that when we want to work in partnership with the Uruz rune, it can present some really useful wisdom for us in terms of when we have the ability to use those pointy horns of the Uruz rune to sort of charge forward, and to use our willpower, our self-discipline, our physical strength to get things done, to literally sort of put your shoulder to the grindstone, and it offers us that. We can use that, and we can draw on it. So it's a very powerful sense of being able to use your own strength to achieve what you want to achieve. But then its opposite side is that recognition of what you need in order to be that powerful, what food you need to eat, what exercise you need to do, what places you need to visit for that sort of spiritual connection, what ceremony and ritual you need to bring into your life to claim that powerful self. And the Uruz rune isn't always that charging energy and moving forward. It can also be what's the word that I'm looking for? That deep knowing of when you need to rest, and that deep knowing of, I'm not ready for battle right now. We think about literally the animals that we still have, sort of herd animals and animals with big sort of antlers and things, who will go out and they'll challenge each other and fight, and you can see the Uruz rune in that sense. There is a point at which even the mightiest of aurochs will say, I'm not going to fight this fight, because I'm not in my best physical state. So what is it that I need to do right now, to drink deep of the replenishing waters of the earth? So I would suggest, Jojo, actually having a little play with that for yourself and going, what form of the Uruz rune do I need right now? And you could even draw the Uruz rune for yourself, perhaps daily through the course of the week, to sort of say, is it upright in that, I'm ready? Is it what's the word that I'm trying to use for? Yeah, how does it call to you? So is it pointing, downwards, drawing up the earth? Is it pointing upwards, so I need to be refilled? It's playing with its shape to say, what do I need? Hello, you're back again. Okay. So yeah, play with your Uruz rune and see what it's offering for you in terms of the partnership through the course of this week, Jojo. Suzanne says, thank you. I do feel I need strong boundaries this week. Not sure why. Okay, so that's useful that we've picked up on that, and that the runes have affirmed that for you. Bhavna, hi, lovely to see you. You've got Athala. So the rune of the ancestors, the rune of your land, inheritance, estate. And I think, given that we've got these lovely energies of partnership coming through, it is about saying, how can you build an even stronger partnership with your land? And it's actually having a play with what your land means. I've actually had a conversation with a couple of people around this theme over the last couple of weeks, a couple of clients that I've been working with, around when we move, we often grieve for the old land, or our belonging, our sense of belonging changes. And I believe that when, as spiritually aligned people, and as people, magical people, we have the ability to form new and profound partnerships with the land that we're on in the moment, as well as calling on the energies of homeland, whether that is the land that you were born on or the land of your ancestors. So I feel as if that's being called really strongly, maybe more so than the ancestors themselves. It's the land on which you now find yourself. So are there any further rituals of connection that you might want to do on the land that you're currently inhabiting, but also perhaps the lands that you've called home or have felt a deep connection with? I sometimes think that part of our reasons for moving from one piece of land to another is almost to become, conduits between those places. I definitely felt that, I don't do it as frequently, well, not in the last couple of years at least, going to Glastonbury. But for a long period of time, I really felt as if I was sort of a little bit of a messenger between Harrow on the Hill, which is where I was born, which is Anglo-Saxon, and beyond, much very, very ancient burial sites, and Glastonbury Tor. Who knows why? I don't know why, but I just felt it very strongly, and it really helped me to see me as being almost like there was a web, sort of this golden web. You might think about those ley lines and those sorts of things between, that I was tending in some way. So have a play with that, Bhavna, see what comes through for you. Karen, you have got Thurisaz. So we've covered Thurisaz. So if you've missed that, we covered that with 2 people. So I'm not going to add anything more, I don't think, Karen. Maybe just a little bit of work on the heart center connection. You might want to go and do the Thurisaz meditation, my YouTube Thurisaz meditation. It's that sense of, for me, it's maybe just an energetic clearing of perhaps old Thurisaz energy, which is where, our programming, emotional programming can often come from. And it's about clearing that so that you can be more open to the current Thurisaz energy. So, maybe go and have a little bit of a play with that YouTube video. It's really important with Thurisaz energy that we don't let it stagnate, that we keep clearing it through our systems so that we can have that new vital energy. It's the difference between the, those old blackened thorns that are actually, the branches tend to be dead, and then new green thorns, shoots come through, and those are the living ones. So it's sort of getting rid of the dead wood and allowing the new to come through. So perhaps a little play with that in addition to the pieces that I've already discussed on Thurisaz. Esther says, thank you. Marie says, yes, it's time. Wunyo to you. Claire, makes sense. Suddenly have things happening which feels like it'll bring change quickly. Okay, that's great. Channeling my inner Briar Rose, says Lisa. Oh, lovely. And Felicity, nice release to let go of how things should be. Oh, wonderful. Okay, so I think that is finished. Thank you for your patience with my coughing and with our lovely cat companions here, the co-hosts. As always, you might have had a little sneak preview of Poppy, who tends to just leap around on the desk while I'm trying to do Middle Earth readings, whereas you like to climb right onto my shoulder. So, blessings to all of you. Just a note for Inner Circle Half Space members that we don't have a class this week because it was a 5-week month, and I'm on retreat this weekend, so I was thinking about doing an additional masterclass, but I'm not going to do it in the future. Thank you to those of you who have given me some lovely ideas for masterclasses and topics that you would like to see me covering more of. Please do keep them coming. If there's anything that you're thinking, I'd be really interested in this theme, please do drop me a line and I'll look at what I can do to support you. Anything else that I need to say? Next month, Half Space theme coming up is work with the god Frey. Very excited to be doing work with him. Now, his theme is natural law, and he gave this to me and I was a bit like, I have no idea what we're going to do with that. But he's been chatting away to me. Well, I say chatting away, that doesn't sound very spiritual, does it? But he's certainly been imparting his wisdom as to how that's going to work for us. So that's coming. So you'll receive the newsletter. We'll send out saying a little bit more about what's going on there. And those of you who are members of Suna Star Wheel and get your monthly calendars, will be publishing your April calendar and your Sacred Play journal this week. So look out for those. Take care, everybody, and bye-bye.